since 1890, proudly supports quality programming on 8 Arizona PBS, 480-725-9602.
Arizona PBS is supported by Albertsons and Safeway Pharmacies, with over 15 vaccines available, like COVID-19, shingles, pneumonia, and travel vaccines. More information at albertsons or safeway.com/vaccinations or on the grocery app.
Good evening and welcome to AZ Votes Candidates in Conversation, a special edition of Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Tonight, we continue our Candidates in Conversation with the Republican candidates running for Arizona's Superintendent of Public Instruction. Superintendent is the state's top education official responsible for overseeing Arizona's public school system and directing the state's Department of Education. Now, Candidates in Conversation is not a formal debate. It's an open exchange of ideas, an opportunity for give and take between candidates for one of the state's most important offices. Interjections and the occasional interruption, they are allowed, provided that all sides get a fair shake, and we'll do our best to see that that happens. Joining us now for tonight's discussion, in alphabetical order, Tom Horn, Arizona's incumbent Superintendent of Public Instruction, and Kimberly Yee, who currently serves as Arizona's State Treasurer. Good to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to the discussion. Kimberly, we're going to start with you. You are running against an incumbent Republican.
Yes.
Why?
Well, in business, if you hire someone for the job and they don't meet performance standards, you fire them. And that's what this primary is about. It's about real results. Arizona children are nearly at the bottom when it comes to reading and math. And the nation's report card shows that we are ranked in the 25th percentile in reading and math in 4th and 8th grade. That is unacceptable. And we absolutely have to take a look at where we are in our classrooms with school funding, making sure that our students and our teachers receive that important funding where it matters. It's stuck at the administration, and right now we don't have a fiscal management in the Department of Education. It's complete chaos. I would bring the competence to that position.
Respond, please.
Yes, well, we're ranked in the National Assessment of Education Progress, which is the gold standard, in the middle of the pack. In funding, we're either last or at best 47th, depending on the study. So when you're last in funding and you're in the middle of the pack in test scores, and these are test scores with the NAEP scores, National Assessment of Education Progress, these are the same test given in every state. I think the schools deserve some credit for that. Now, we're working very hard with a lot of initiatives that I'd like to have a chance to talk about during our discussion to improve academics. That's what it's all about. But it's wrong to say we're in the bottom of the pack in test scores, because in the gold standard, we're in the middle of the pack when we're last in funding.
What do you make of that?
Well, there's outdated information here being presented by an outdated administration, and we need fresh new ideas. It's very clear that we need to bring phonics back into the classroom for reading instruction. We need to bring vocational education into our skills for students to be able to be equipped with vocational education, and they can have that certification upon graduation so that we can be work ready for a growing state like ours.
Please respond to the idea that the department under your supervision is in chaos.
Exactly the opposite, and I'll respond to both of the charges that were made. With respect to career technical education, I've greatly expanded it. We have a program called SIP, the Student Industry Partnership, in which we have partnership with the 40 of the largest companies in Arizona, and which I've promised them we'll provide the skilled labor. We have access to 1,400,000 kids, but they, in turn, they need to tell our career technical education teachers what to give the students so they get good jobs with those companies. Now, as far as phonics goes, every school in Arizona teaches phonics, and it's been the law since 2008. You've got someone I'm the incumbent. You've got someone challenging who's completely ignorant about what's going on in the schools. I challenge her to find a single school that is not teaching phonics in the classroom.
I don't want to get too bogged down on phonics here, but I'm getting two different stories.
Well, I would like to get back to the basics in education. That's what families want. I've traveled the entire state nobody is satisfied with the state of education in Arizona. The person who is running the position has not gotten the job done. And we see that not only in our test results, we see that in our graduation rates, we see that with declining enrollment, and parents deserve better. As a mom, I believe that there are so many families here who are leaving the public school system because they are not satisfied with what is happening in our schools.
I want to go to the Auditor General's report, which is out on ESAs.
Yes.
And it says the program lacks oversight big time, 34% of transactions with problems, misuse, overpayment, unallowable expenses. The Department of Education, 2.3 million transactions weren't even reviewed, according to the Auditor General's report, by your department. That equates to like $650 million. What's going on here?
Well, first of all, let's do a comparison. The Auditor General's report says the Department of Education has $68,000 of possible losses. It says the Treasurer's Office has $64 million of possible losses. As far as checking things, our harshest critic from Channel 12, you're familiar with him,
Yes.
has admitted, I've got a video of him, has admitted that the number of questioned transactions is less than 2% of the dollar value of the ESAs.
I will let him speak for himself regarding that. But the Auditor General's report says there are 500,000 high-risk transactions that were not at all reviewed. That could be up to $100 million here. Again, this is not a positive report on what's going on with the ESA program.
Right, and it's not a positive report of the Treasurer either. Much worse for the Treasurer. But let me say this: the only less than 2%. It's well established. Less than 2% of the dollar value are in question transactions. And when there's and the legislature told us to use risk-based auditing because we have the same staff that was established for 11,000, and with the success of the program under me, it's over 100,000 now, and so they told us to use risk-based auditing, and that's what we're doing. So we review the high-risk people, which is exactly what the legislature told us to do.
You buying that?
This Auditor General's report not only confirmed my allegation that there's complete chaos in the Department of Education under the current superintendent, it showed that there was complete mismanagement of how they administer these funds, because what's happening is that when the legislature gives the superintendent administrative funding of $10 million to help with the efficiencies of getting those dollars out the door to those ESA families, the 100,000 ESA families, he used that for ads that promoted himself with those taxpayer dollars, which are still on air. And we see from the Auditor General's report that we need someone who understands executive management, as I have done in the State Treasurer's Office. When I started as State Treasurer, we had $15.4 billion in assets under management. Today, we stand at $32 billion in assets under management. That's more money for the taxpayers. That's what we need in executive leadership in the Department of Education. Someone with that fiscal hawk eye to make sure the money is going exactly where it should be.
And again, but as far as what Tom mentioned, he says that your office and your department is even in worse shape than his department.
Well, that's
By a
because he
factor of
doesn't
10.
understand numbers, and we can see that based on his poor management of the ESA program. I'm a strong supporter of school choice and ESAs. In fact, I helped expand the ESA program for low-income families when I was in the legislature. And he is causing the ESA program to go down in making sure that we have these ESA dollars fully accountable. We have to have a platform to make sure that that is in place. And I am starting that through the State Treasurer's Office, through a RFI, to make sure we have the technologies in place to manage that ESA system well.
Can I respond
Yes,
to that?
please.
Yes. If you will go to the website, therealkimyee.com, you will see an article by Capital Media where they interviewed her, and it said that some parents were upset with me because I was denying what I considered illegitimate requests. And that I was in trouble for denying a $5,000 Rolex watch, $24,000 golf simulator, and other things like that. And they quoted Kim as saying, I did not have authority to deny those because the parents knew what was best for their kids. So if Kim were superintendent,
That's not true.
she would be granting Rolex watches.
It's not true. I would
All right,
not grant
please.
Rolex watches. In fact, those are not educational expenses, and they should never have been provided for reimbursement.
That's not what you said in the Capital Media
article. That's what I'm
article.
saying. That is what I'm saying. I do not believe that Rolex watches should have been an educational expense under taxpayer dollars, under the ESA.
It's not what you said in that article. You said I didn't have the authority to limit the expenditures.
Have you heard of fake news?
I'm sorry?
Again, we'll let that reporter speak for themselves.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the idea, there is a narrative out there that you are running, and you were recruited in some respects to run, because there's a thought in the Republican Party that he's doing too much against ESAs.
There is a real problem when you have an executive who is part of an agency who is trying to make the laws that the legislature should be doing. That is the law. The law says that the ESA plan should be determined by the legislature. So anything under that management needs to be provided by the legislative authority, not the state superintendent of public instruction. He is overstepping his governance structure. So what we have seen is his, giving out $2,000 in purchases without any questions. And that's where you saw the diamond rings and other things. So when you have someone who is overstepping the boundaries for which he is currently, given, the legislature has that role, not the state superintendent. So that is where I am on this position.
That's exactly what my opponent said in that article, that I did not have the authority to limit expenditures, and it was specifically referenced to the $5,000 Rolex watches. So if she says I don't have the authority to limit that, then she would feel she didn't have the authority, and she would pay for $5,000 Rolex watches.
Would $5,000 Rolex watches and luxury lingerie and trips here, there, and everywhere, and all sorts of other, would you be okay with it? Would you have the authority?
Those are non-educational expenses.
Okay, but you would have the authority.
Have passed a system that would have allowed for the definition of those items as educational expenses. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, but you said I didn't have the authority to deny them. So you would have, it follows from that you would have paid for $5,000 watches.
If it gets to you as superintendent of public instruction and it got past other barriers for whatever reason, would you not have the authority to say no?
The current state superintendent does not have a system of management among the Department of Education. You can see that by every headline you read. And there is complete chaos within the Department of Education under his leadership, which is why I'm running for this position.
That's completely
I care
false.
about
Completely
the ESA program. I was part of,
You're fabricating statements.
I would like to speak without interruption.
Please.
As a former sponsor of the ESA plan for low-income children, for those who are in foster care, for those who are in military families, I support the ESA program and its future. And when we take a look at how he has mismanaged this program, we will not see a future.
If you say I don't have the authority to deny $5,000 Rolex watches, then it means that you would feel that you didn't have the authority to deny $5,000 Rolex watches. And this is the way to make the program not succeed, because it would come into disrepute. Under me, it's increased from 40,000 to over 100,000 because I'm keeping it honest. Under my opponent, it would be dishonest because she has said there's no authority to deny illegitimate purchases.
I want to go to guardrails on ESA, the ESA program. Are guardrails needed? Check that. A better question here. This kind of Auditor General's report, if it came in on Access, if it came in on other government programs, what would be your response to that?
Oh, the others have higher percentages of problems than I do. The 2% problem is less than theirs. But the point is that what caused my opponent to run is because Senator Jake Hoffman didn't want me limiting any purchases. And then she was quoted in the Capital Media story saying I didn't have the authority to limit purchases.
So if an Auditor General's report came in on some of these other agencies, you'd be fine with that?
They did. They did. As I pointed out, 10 times worse in the Treasurer's office.
I have a long history of being a watchdog for taxpayers and making sure we have accountability and transparency at every level, and we need that more than ever, not only in the Department of Education, because we don't have management there currently, but we need it at the level of districts as well to make sure that they also are managing their budgets well.
Last question. I've got to get kind of quick here because I want to get to some other topics, but there's an initiative out there that would cap ESA family income at $150,000. I believe that the governor's looking at $250,000. Either or, good ideas? What do you think?
Well, I go back to the statement I made earlier, which is it's the legislature's job to really monitor what is happening on accountability and those provisions within the law.
But do you think it's a good idea to put a cap on family income for ESAs?
Well, I believe that when we talked about universal ESAs, it meant education for all, opportunities for all.
My opponent said she's a watchdog for dollars. The governor overspent her budget $330 million. It screwed up everybody else's budget. The treasurer should have been aware of it and should have blown the whistle so the legislature could do something. She was completely silent.
That's not true.
Okay, we gotta get a response.
If you look at the website aztreasury.gov, immediately upon understanding that there was $300 million that was lost by the governor in her executive leadership, I called on the state legislature, and the appropriations chair was given a letter immediately by my office to make sure that was reined in.
We never got an
Let me just say, a watchdog of
Quickly,
finance
please.
would have done it before it reached $330 million.
I never got you to respond to the idea of a family income cap on ESAs. 150,000, 250,000, anything?
Well, the first proposal was 250, and then the next one was 150. And I said, that's the problem with caps. They keep lowering them. So people will think, well, it's okay, I don't make that much. They end up getting caught in it as they keep lowering the caps.
Okay, so no cap for you then?
Yes, I also,
All right.
I also want to say that I've been fighting against DEI.
Yeah, well, if we have time, we're going to get to that. But right now, I want to get to education.
Yeah.
Is Arizona spending enough on education?
No, absolutely not. And I say that every year I give a State of Education speech to the legislature. I tell them they need to raise teacher salaries, and we can do it without affecting taxes because there's plenty of money in the land trust.
Are we spending enough in the state on education?
I'm a strong supporter of more money in our classrooms and directed directly to those students and to those teachers for higher teacher salaries, and less money at the administrative level where, they really need to take a look at the bills that do require where you put a cap on administrative spending. I'm also a supporter that Proposition 123 funds are directed to those key elements of school funding, because if we don't, we will have schools continuing to have teachers going out to buy their supplies at garage sales. That's just not right. I'm a daughter of a public school teacher. I'm a strong supporter of teachers and, of course, the students who are in those classrooms.
We understand, obviously, that you're not in the legislature, so you can't make laws, but you will be the education chief of the state. You can advocate for a whole bunch of things. Would you advocate, again, for more spending on education? And regarding administration costs, we just had a conversation with the Democratic candidates for superintendent of public instruction, and one of them said that administrative costs are, on average, maybe 10% of education funds go to administration costs.
Well, we have a school superintendent in the Tolleson School District who's making nearly $500,000 in his salary and bonuses. So take a look at the administrative fees carefully.
Okay, is exception or rule there, you think, in Tolleson?
Well, of course, that's a certain situation, but if you take a look at the top-heavy nature of the school district administration down to the classroom spending, there is a real imbalance.
I served on the school board, and we were 2.5% of budget on our central office administration. I tried to get a bill passed when I was in the legislature at 5%, couldn't get it passed because of inefficient districts. These are up to the elected school boards. She doesn't understand what the powers of the superintendent are. I can't control the salaries of superintendents. Those are up to the school boards. I do want to get this in.
But you can make a lot of noise on a variety of issues. Are you making enough noise?
I have, yes, I have. I published and sent out in a press release a study we did that schools that spent more money on teacher salaries and less on administration did better academically.
You agree with that?
Well, obviously condescending statements from my opponent there, because I have 30 years of experience in education policy in the K-12 space, starting from the 1990s when I was helping draft laws for charter schools in Arizona and school choice, not only with our school tuition organizations, but later with ESAs, and making sure that families have that opportunity to make that choice for their child's best unique needs.
You referred to teachers. We have a persistent teacher shortage in Arizona. 1,000 resigned from July to November of last year alone. Why is that happening?
We need to address teacher retention. And many of these teachers are leaving after the third year in those classrooms. And we haven't addressed it under the current administration. My vision for this issue is to make sure that at the Department of Education we have mentor teachers who are ready and in place to help those younger teachers as they navigate those first few important years in those classrooms.
You haven't addressed this, she says.
I'm sorry?
She says you haven't addressed this teacher retention issue.
Boy, did I ever. I've done it very strongly. Every time I give a speech to the legislature, I say you must raise salaries in order to retain teachers as well as to attract teachers, because right now we're losing more than are coming into the profession. I made a big issue of that, and we can do these things without any effect on taxes because of the land trust. I want to get in something in before the time is off, because it's so.
I want to go back to teachers in the classroom, and they say that they're being overworked. They're doing things they shouldn't have to be doing. They say they're being vilified by public officials, and some mention you. How do you respond to that?
I haven't vilified teachers at all. I vilified administrators like the one my opponent mentioned, but I have not vilified teachers. On the contrary, I've advocated for more salaries for them and for a bill that would give incentives to administrators to support them on discipline, because some administrators are too lenient and they leave the teachers leave because they can't take the chaos in the classroom.
Do teachers get enough support here in Arizona? Because they tell me and tell others no.
Right. I visit classrooms all the time as the state treasurer of Arizona, and I talk about financial literacy in schools. And I talk to those teachers eye to eye. They are not happy. Many of these teachers who have been in the classroom for over 20 years are being asked to get retrained on reading. I mean, they are experts in these areas, and there's regulations from the Department of Education that make them pay out of pocket to go and get reading instruction once again. We need to focus on those teachers and make sure not only are they supported financially, but we give them the tools, the curriculum, all that they need for that classroom.
But I've been advocating for higher salaries for the teachers with the legislature every year. My opponent has not done that. Could I get in this one?
All right,
issue?
get it in. Go ahead.
Okay. I've been fighting against DEI. If your viewers will go on therealkimyee.com, they will see documentary evidence that she served on a committee that was pro-DEI with the Treasurers National Association.
Please respond.
And I sent a letter to the current superintendent. It was a cease and desist letter because this is a lie. And it follows the fact that not only did NAST, which is the National Association of State Treasurers, write a letter which he has been given that states all of the committees for which I have served in my time as state treasurer, the DEI committee is not on this list. So he is not only lying, but he has a long record of lying from the time he had the mistress, where he had numerous rendezvous on your lunch hour, where the FBI not only saw you in a hit and run, and you crashed a car and
let me
you
just
fled.
make this point.
So
the documentary evidence is on the website. They can see the documentary proof that she served on the DEI committee.
He also had an FBI record of using taxpayer resources in the AG's office to advance his campaign finance, to advance his continued effort to run for office.
All you know how to do is make personal attacks rather than deal with.
Hold on.
You don't have the intellect to deal with.
I want to get back to what she says is a complete lie and what you say is not. I mean, what's going on here?
You look to the documentary proof to determine what the lie is.
A documentary proof of a screenshot is not. It's not the truth.
The documentary proof, it's a document.
The National Association of State Treasurers has a letter. It's
your readers
posted
can look online and they'll see the documentary proof.
And I will also just share that the current superintendent had 6 speeding tickets in 1.5 years, some of which were in school zones.
That's something like 20 years ago.
Oh, so 20 years ago doesn't matter.
You know, you don't have the intellect to deal with education issues, so all you know how to do is personal attacks. That's the way you are.
You're the one who created your record.
Every election you've been in.
All right, hold on.
Many scandals have been made by you.
We got to stop it right there because we're out of time.
Okay.
I'm out of popcorn, I guess.
No worries.
Thank you both. We really appreciate it. We do thank our candidates, and we have allotted time for 1-minute closing statements. And going in alphabetical order, we start with Tom Horn.
Okay, so I have, as I mentioned, I have been fighting against, I'm the only official in statewide office who's been fighting for the normal against the left-wing crazy. I've been, for example, I'm in the courts fighting to keep boys out of girls' sports. I've been fighting very hard in the classrooms against critical race theory and DEI. And your listeners or viewers can go on the website that I mentioned, therealkimyee.com, and they will see documentary proof that she was on the DEI committee of the National Treasurers Association, as well as the other issue, which is the failure to understand the education issues that we're dealing with and only resort to personal attacks.
Thank you very much. And now, closing statement from Kimberly Yee.
For 30 years, I have been fighting for Arizona students. As the former chair of the Senate Education Committee, I expanded ESAs for low-income families and increased academic standards. As state treasurer, I earned and distributed over $3.2 billion for Arizona public schools and $32 billion in taxpayer funds managed with honesty and integrity. And that's why 4 former Republican state superintendents of public instruction who have held this position have endorsed me. In business, if you hire someone who doesn't meet performance standards, you fire them. And that's what this primary is about. Tom Horne has had his time. Now it's time for results. I'm Kimberly Yee, and I hope to earn your vote.
All right. Thank you both. We appreciate your time and good conversation. Got a little spicy there, but good conversation. Good to have you here. Thanks again to our candidates, and thank you for watching tonight's discussion. Our next Arizona Horizon Candidates in Conversation will be tomorrow, May 14th, as we hear from the Republican candidates running for Arizona's Secretary of State. That's tomorrow, May 14th, 5 p.m. and again at 10 p.m. on Arizona Horizon. And a reminder that all episodes of Candidates in Conversation are live streamed on YouTube at AZPBS Now and can be viewed as well at azpbs.org. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening. On the next Arizona Horizon, our Candidates in Conversation continues with candidates running in the Republican primary for Arizona's Secretary of State. Candidates in Conversation on the next Arizona Horizon.
I like to think that at Arizona Horizon we are unique.